Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the September monthly member briefing. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the significance of today's date, September 11th. It's a day of remembrance, a day of reflection, and we honor those we lost, as well as the resilience and unity that followed. And with that to mind, I'd like to get back to September 12th and 13th when we were all one. With that in mind, let's turn our attention to today's briefing and the important work we're doing right here in the region to build it stronger and better than ever. We're thrilled to have you with us as we head into an unbelievably busy and exciting fall season, both here and definitely in the region as well, and for the city. This monthly briefing is an opportunity for us to connect with our valued members, to share timely updates, and to keep you informed about what's happening in our business community. I want to give a special thank you to our sponsors, Medical Mutual and Shakely, for their continued support of these monthly member briefings. Medical Mutual is our trusted health insurance benefit partner. They offer tailored solutions for everybody from the sole proprietor to the large companies. Shakely is our worker compensation benefit partner who's proudly been a partner with the Chamber for over 34 years. If you need any introductions to any of our cost savings programs or Medical Mutual or Shakely, please reach out to me at tdeer@cincinnati-chamber.com. Just a couple quick housekeeping notes. You've joined in listen-only mode with your cameras and microphones muted. However, here at the Chamber, we encourage you to engage throughout the session by using the chat box to ask questions and share comments. As I said earlier, we have an incredible lineup today. To kick things off, I'm pleased to welcome Brendan Call, President and CEO of the Cincinnati Regional Chamber. Brendan still might be I know he's not in the same suit, but I just left him a few hours ago and at the alumni celebration. So, Brendan, welcome to the show.
Changed suits. I did, in fact, change suits, but thank you,
I know
Thomas.
you
Fresh,
did.
fresh shirt, ironed, and everything. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here today. Like Thomas, I want to start this morning and remember what happened on a morning not unlike this one 24 years ago. Everyone remembers where they were that day. I was actually working for the mayor of Cincinnati at the time, and I remember in the hours and days afterwards, looking at the men and the women of the Cincinnati police and fire departments just a little bit differently. Their brethren in New York City had run into buildings to save lives, and it dawned on me that the men and women of the police departments and the folks who served us here locally in public safety would have done just the same. Our nation mourned together. We celebrated and honored the lives that were lost. We prayed together. It was a horrifying tragedy, and I do think it is appropriate that each year on this day we remember those that we lost, what happened to our country, and perhaps, like Thomas said, what it felt like in those days and weeks afterwards when our collective American spirit was more united and more deeply bonded together. And I hope that feeling is what guides us forward today. I am looking forward to today. I'm looking forward to hearing from Mayor Pureval. I think it's going to be a great conversation. I know that he is willing to take questions. I have seen him take many, 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 many questions over the last 4 years that we have been able to work together. And I know that he is prepared to answer anything that you want to come his way. And I appreciate that he's been willing to do this. I think he's a return guest on this monthly member briefing. Remember, we do post this online, and so it's available to you and your colleagues and other of our members. And we send it out as part of our newsletter later today. So thanks again for being here. If you are regulars on this, September is a very busy month for us at the Chamber. Yesterday, most of our group got back last evening around 5:30 from a whirlwind 3-day trip to Washington, D.C., where we met with our elected officials and the administration and a number of policy groups. With more than 50 people from the Cincinnati Regional Chamber, members, even our partners at the European American Chamber sent a few people to join us on the trip. It was absolutely tremendous to be able to engage and ask questions about trade and tariffs and safety and growth and housing and transportation and infrastructure and all the issues that help us drive towards a growing, thriving region. One day we met with four United States senators, all four senators from Ohio and Kentucky, another five members of the House of Representatives, and then capped off the day spending time with former Senator Rob Portman. On the third day of the trip, our group spent time with the Bipartisan Policy Center talking about housing and transportation, which was a really terrific discussion. The first day, we even visited the White House complex and met with a number of administration officials in the old executive office building. So it was a really special trip to Washington, D.C. We do that every year. We appreciate all of the sponsors who helped make it happen. And I see some attendees on this call today who were a part of that trip, and so we're grateful for that. When we got back, we went straight to the Leadership Alumni Dinner last night, which is the annual kickoff that we do for Leadership Cincinnati. Last night was the first day of Leadership Cincinnati Class 49, and the group has their class, and then we move over to Memorial Hall, and we have an awards dinner where we give awards to two Leadership Cincinnati alumni. And the alumni that we celebrated last night were Carl Satterwhite, the president and CEO of RCF Group, who was Leadership Cincinnati Class 28, and then Rick Greiwe, Leadership Cincinnati Class 8. And both of them received an award that we call the Nelson Schwab Leadership Award. Two other individuals received an award: Angelica Hardy from American Heart and Emily Cashel from Taft. Both received the Civic Quotient Award. It was a beautiful coming together in our community. Mayor, I was especially glad to see your chief of staff was there having a great time, a Leadership Cincinnati graduate herself. So thank you for all who were there. Today, of course, is our monthly member briefing. And then next week, we have this little event called Oktoberfest Cincinnati, where we expect hundreds of thousands of people safely down on our riverfront at Sawyer Point and Yateman's Cove. Rookwood Steins, the annual Rookwood Stein release has happened. They are already on sale. These are beautiful collector's edition steins. We've got stylish merchandise, cold beer almost on tap, and we're hoping for a beautiful weekend. With the mayor here, I want to say thank you so much to the men and women of Cincinnati Police, Cincinnati Events Planning. Jerusha does an amazing job making these happen. The entire administration comes together to make sure all of our events are well run and well attended. And then two things for your radar. Then I'm going to introduce the mayor. October 8th is our State of the Region. Annually, we release this report with all of the data that you need to know about what's happening in our community. Much of it is updated online throughout the year, but our annual report is released on October 8th. You can register online. And then on October 20th, our first ever regional business summit, thanks to partnership from Fifth Third Bank. That will be an incredible room full of leaders focused on helping you grow your small business. This is for small and medium-sized businesses in our region. So if you are online while you're here today, you can go over and register for both. Okay, now it's my privilege and honor to introduce the 70th mayor of Cincinnati. Mayor Aftab Pureval has been serving as mayor for the last 4 years. We have worked closely together that entire time, whether it is on housing policy, connected communities, on advancing transportation initiatives in our community to make sure that this community is prepared for bus rapid transit, from keeping and supporting the Brent Spence Bridge project, which is on track and will be underway very soon, but had a lot of work that still needed to do over the last several years, to partnerships on the Futures Commission, to just regular touch bases to make sure that we are connected as a business community and as a civic community with the policies and the direction of the great city of Cincinnati. Everybody knows, no matter where you live, whether you're in Florence or Forest Park, that how the city of Cincinnati goes is critically important to the growth and the future of our region. And so making sure that we have a direction of growth and vibrancy in our center city has been really critical to our organization, and that has led to what I believe is an incredibly strong partnership with this mayor. Mayor Aftab has been working with us very closely on, as he has led this city forward on safety reforms in the last few months. He's going to talk about that, I know. He has continued to prioritize downtown, helping spearhead numerous projects in our core, but also in our neighborhoods. And I'll leave you with just this one anecdote because it's, I believe, indicative of what kind of a leader he is and how he collaborates. But when the mayor took office, having come from the county clerk's office, which is where he was right before, um, he came in and he started asking various different individuals in our community about what mattered and what would happen and what should happen. And two particular projects were were on the radar. One was the renovation and the growth of our convention center. Um, that project was not an easy project. There was not unanimity at the time. And immediately the mayor grasped the understanding of why that project was central to our growth, not just as a city, but as a region. He immediately grabbed onto that and made that a feature of his first year in office, working with 3CDC, with the business community, with the civic community, with Visit Cincy to make sure that that project got done. It is going to come in, I believe, under budget and early, and will be done later this year, which is really exciting. And the second project, which I believe we are going to get going soon, are the caps over Fort Washington Way. And perhaps that will come up today, but that is a project that is a generational project. The mayor has embraced that as a key part of what he is trying to advocate for. We're so grateful for that. Mayor, I've appreciated your leadership. I love that we get to work together. And so I'm grateful for you to spend time with us today. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey, thanks so much, Brendan. Thanks so much for inviting me. That was such a kind introduction, and it was nice to get a snapshot and some of the things the chamber is working on, and exciting about all the things coming up for this fall. But good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for giving me this opportunity to chat with you. I really want to save a lot of time, frankly, for Q&A because I feel like that's when the most interesting conversation happens rather than me speaking at you. But certainly I'll do my part to give you an update and really want to pick up where Brendan left off, or kind of the framing of his conversation, which was vibrancy and growth. That really has been our North Star in City Hall. If you recall, back in January of 2022, remote work was still going strong. The pandemic was kind of in its last gasps, and there was a lot of uncertainty about what would happen to our urban core from an economic development and vibrancy perspective. And knowing that was really uncertain, and a lot of things were hanging in the balance, this council really focused in on how can we continue the growth of the last decade, and how can we make sure that we don't lose any of the incredible vibrancy and momentum, again, that was created over the last really 2 decades. And so we have been very intentional about making sure that our urban core continues to have people living there, have people shopping there, and have people playing there. And so, the really big focus, of course, was the convention center early on. That was important to create a anchor of economic development on the western part of our downtown, which, unfortunately is not as vibrant as other areas. It was also important, though, to connect the investments, the historical investments that have been made in Over the Rhine, in the West End, in, frankly, the Court Street area, and of course at the Banks and Smale Park. By connecting those investments to the investment in the convention center, we can start stitching together our urban core. And 3CDC has been, in addition to the chamber, has been a fantastic partner in kind of placemaking. So in addition to the investments, we've really been thinking through creating different districts. So we have been very intentional with signage and with programming to not just allow, after we're done with this $600 million convention center and hotel, to just have it sit on the western part of downtown and not be connected to anything. And so that's why we created the Fountain District. That's why we're creating the Convention District, and we're connecting those two through investments in strategic acquisitions. And so if I could go east with you, we also were very quick. The city was very quick to pick up the Saks building once it was being sold. We then partnered with 3CDC to develop that. And so, having a company relocate downtown having that building be filled with bars and restaurants in addition to Class A office space, and having that building connecting Fountain Square to the investments in the convention center district area, is really the strategy there. And all of that is to continue to bring people downtown and keep them downtown, particularly because remote work continues to be a challenge. To that end, we worked very quickly, not just on the convention center, but also on taking non-Class A office space or underutilized office space and turning it into housing. You see that with the Macy's building before this council took office, which was sitting vacant for several years. Now it's over 300 units of workforce to market rate housing right in our urban core. The same thing can be said about PNC Tower. The same thing can be said about about Carew Tower that we just passed tax abatements for a few months ago. Mercantile Library. The amount of reinvestment and redevelopment in Cincinnati is really showing. We're actually now second in the nation for taking underutilized office space and turning it into housing, and we're third in the nation for lowest vacancy rates downtown. And you see it on the weekends. You see it, during the week. People are, the vibrancy of the city is going really strong, and we've been very successful in bringing people back downtown. In addition to that, we've been very aggressive with respect to live events. Obviously Blink is kind of our big tentpole event in addition to Oktoberfest and so many others. But we really worked with the chamber and the business community to go after the World Cup, to go after the Club World Cup, to go after Sundance. And also, so these are not just one-offs in partnership with the chamber and the CBC and the CRBC and the county. And CVB, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we get all the partners. We created a sports commission, which is really, sports and live entertainment commission to bring people, big acts downtown. What we saw when we had Messi and Taylor Swift in one summer, a couple summers ago, just a massive economic impact. And of course, that brings up making sure that we have the facilities necessary to host these large events. And that's why I think the arena conversation is worthy. I think we do need an arena. I think we're missing out on a lot of economic development opportunities, a lot of vibrancy opportunities, and frankly, a lot of branding opportunities. When national acts or large national and international events are not even considering Cincinnati, we're leaving a lot on the table, and we're not even competitive, let alone losing. We're just not even competing with Louisville and Columbus and Indianapolis for some of these events because we lack a modern arena. And so that's something that we're continue to push on. We continue to work with so many partners in the business community to think through what does the capital stack look like, number one, and number two, where would that go? But that with that economic development strategy. And I want to end on two other subjects, coupled with a real investment in transforming our public transportation through bus rapid transit. Brendan mentioned it in the intro, and I'm so glad he did. As we look to the next 4 years, what's going to be important for City Council, for the mayor, for the city, is going to be bus rapid transit. For those of you who are not as familiar as some of our public transportation geeks like myself and Brendan, bus rapid transit is different than just a regular bus route in that the frequency of the bus is, the cadence is more frequent. There are dedicated bus lanes on the roads. There are dedicated street lights on the roads in order to make that commute more efficient and more quick. The bus stops are not just signs or benches; they are physical bus stops. So there is a added impact of positive economic development, not unlike the streetcar. And in addition to that, it is going to be built where most of our riders are and where people need to get north and south into and out of the community as fast as they can. I think this is going to have a profound impact on where people are working in our city, on our ability to bring people downtown, on our ability to make sure that we're living in a dense and diverse and walkable community and neighborhoods. And that is the direction of not just Cincinnati, but of all major cities as people continue to come to the cities, continue to come here because of access to jobs, and access to basic services. And so we're really excited about that over the next 4 years, working with SORTA, with the chamber, with so many other stakeholders to make sure that we're not compromising, but really trying to be intentional about getting this right and making sure it's as effective and efficient as possible. And the last thing I want to talk about is safety, because we can't be growing, we can't be vibrant, we can't be a destination for large events if we're not safe. And most importantly, or maybe as importantly, if we don't feel safe. There's no doubt that we've had public safety challenges this summer. This council and I have been on our front foot, being intentional about the investments that we're making. There's kind of particularly in the urban core, there's a twin strategies approach in order to address the feeling of safety, or the perception, of safety. We've invested extraordinarily into police visibility. What does that mean? It means that on Vine Street and on Main Street, we have 2 police officers walking the beat. It means we have several police officers in the Court Street area, mounted on bicycles. It means that, in the Fountain Square area. In the Court Street area, we had a partnership with the sheriff to patrol that area. That partnership ended this month, and so the CPD patrol has taken that over. It means CDRT, which is our civil disturbance response team, the team that we send out anytime there are large demonstrations or, God forbid, riots. Those folks are on the banks every weekend. And they travel north as the night goes on, including traveling to 4th and Elm. And it means greater use of the Ohio Patrol's aviation unit, greater use of our drone unit, and just greater visibility in general. And our theory of the case is that greater visibility not only makes people feel safe when they see more police officers and more police presence, but also gives us more eyes and ears for actual enforcement. And that's the other strategy, which is enforcement, enforcing the law that is on the books. We created really early on in the summer a street crimes level task force, and that is really focused on a lot of these quality of life issues, but also on serious crime. Issues like, open air drug use, issues like loud music, loitering, these challenging issues, breaking into cars, these challenging issues that, may seem on paper like they're minor, but when there's a large number of them, or particularly in breaking into cars, when they get access to illegal guns to then engage in violent behavior, it is an actual real problem that we're taking very seriously. Very recently, this past week, was that this week? Yeah, I guess that was Tuesday. The governor came down to announce our deepening partnership. In addition to having Highway Patrol on 75 and 71, in addition to using their aerial surveillance, we're also going to be using Highway Patrol for specifically enforcement. So when CPD does investigations and it's time to go raid, or time to go do covert, sting operations, or time to go arrest somebody, Highway Patrol will be increasing our bandwidth to crack down on these violent criminals. Really grateful for the governor's partnership here. I'm not interested in making political or certainly partisan statements, but I will say that Governor DeWine is just a true public servant who is really focused on doing the best thing for not just Cincinnati, but the state of Ohio. That's his leadership style. And so when he reached out and offered to partner with us, I was eager to say yes. He's a trusted partner, and I'm really grateful for his leadership. And I think it's going to make a difference. In fact, I just saw a headline that the governor of Maryland is partnering with the mayor of Baltimore in a similar partnership. And so what the governor and I are doing, shouldn't be unique, should be the norm throughout the country. But I'm glad that he's really creating the standard for the rest of the country to take a look at. So, look, there's no doubt it's been a challenging summer. We are not taking our foot off the gas with respect to either visibility or enforcement until we feel confident that people feel safe coming downtown. Like I said, if we don't get public safety right, this population growth, this vibrancy, it does hang in the balance, and we take that very seriously. And we're making strong moves in order to stem the tide. But look, I'm despite those challenges, remain incredibly optimistic about Cincinnati. We're getting all of the big things right. Population growth, economic investment, creation of housing, investments in public transportation, investments in making Cincinnati a destination. And I expect that not just to continue, but I expect that momentum to grow. We really do have the chance to be, to continue the renaissance and the golden period of Cincinnati. And I think the momentum that has been created over the past 20 years is only growing. And it certainly is on the current city leadership, both elected and non-elected, to make sure that we continue to partner, that we continue to collaborate even when it's hard, and that we continue to hold those relationships as close as possible, because that is the special ingredient of Cincinnati. When you think about all of the major, huge, moving the ball forward events in Cincinnati, they have all been public-private partnerships. We have seen time and time again that when we are siloed, that when our relationships aren't strong, that when we allow knucklehead stuff to get between us, it slows our momentum. And so, particularly in the challenging times, it's important to hold each other close, to hold each other accountable, but continue to keep our eyes on the horizon. And that certainly is my goal. Thanks for the time, Brendan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you ending on that note. Really fine comments, and it is true. So much of what happens in this community gets done because of partnerships, and we appreciate very much how you have approached so many of those partnerships. I was glad you mentioned Blink. I didn't mention Blink at the start, and I'm in Oktoberfest mindset, but
next year, baby.
Next year, baby. You've been a huge supporter of that, and we so appreciate what the city does to make sure a free event like that happens in our community. It's not possible. I always remind people an event like that only happens in Cincinnati, Ohio. There's nothing else like it in the United States of America, and more things like that in our community matter. Okay, we have some time for Q&A, about 8-10 minutes for Q&A. There is a Q&A box on your screen if you are in Zoom. I know you know how to use it because we've done it before. And so if you have questions for the mayor, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A box. While we are waiting for folks to type out their questions, you spent a little time talking about housing, but talk a little bit about it in the context of particularly neighborhood business districts and growth from an economic perspective, because housing and business growth go hand in hand. And so when you think about our vibrant business districts, what you have tried to do to bring more housing to communities, neighborhoods like Oakley have been ready and willing to build new housing and to welcome new residents, and it's really driven the growth in the city. How's that philosophy manifesting through the administration? What are you doing to make sure that continues?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about housing because it is, just so important to the growth and vibrancy of the city. Kind of paraphrasing something that you just said, every jobs announcement that we make is also basically a housing announcement, because those people have to live somewhere and need to live somewhere. And in fact, the MedPace announcement from a couple of years ago was the largest jobs announcement that Ready has had in their recent history. And so again, it's just another proof point that the city continues to grow and attract greater investments. But people have to live somewhere. The challenge that we have on a macroeconomic level is over the 10-year period that we've gained population, we've actually lost housing stock because our city is so old. And so it's a real challenge. More people living here and fewer places for them to live. In fact, Redfin, kind of traditionally has Cincinnati #1 in the country for percentage of rent increases year over year, which is a significant problem. That plus the property taxes that have been continuing to grow because of the property reassessments, and also the mortgages are also going up. So we need more housing. We particularly need more housing in our neighborhood business districts, where that housing will not just house people, but also be a benefit to the small businesses that populates so many of our neighborhood business districts. And we need, yes, more affordable housing to be sure, but we also need housing just period at all levels. And so this council has been frankly fearless with respect to building housing because building housing is not easy. Everyone will say in a poll that housing is a top issue, but then when you try to build it, it becomes very difficult. Not to suggest that these concerns are unreasonable, but it's hard to make a single housing project perfect for everyone in a community. And that makes it even harder to actually build the housing that is so necessary. Depending on the study, we're about 40,000 units short. We had a goal of creating 40,000 units over the next 10 years, which is about 4,000 units a year. And we're falling well short of that. Despite the fact that we have partnered with the county and private businesses to create an affordable housing trust fund of $100 million, despite the fact that we did the hard and painful work of rezoning our city to incentivize more density and more units, particularly in our neighborhood business districts where we want people living and along our transit routes, not just BRT, but also 24/7 routes. Our zoning literally legalized housing. So we now have the right to build townhouses and row homes all across the city. And that's important because those are usually viewed as starter homes. We don't want to just build apartments and rent. We also want to create opportunities for wealth building by creating not just affordable, but also naturally affordable homes like townhomes and row homes, which are usually starter homes. So we are regularly people will refer to Cincinnati as being on the very cutting edge of housing innovation and having the courage of our convictions to build more housing. But it is a challenge. And Brendan, I'm glad that you brought it up because I think we as a community need to make a decision as to whether we are actually pro-growth, as to whether we are actually pro-housing. Because I understand these conversations get very personal and very emotional. But the dispassionate approach is frankly, we need more housing and we need more courage to overcome our differences, not for any ulterior motive other than the fact that more supply of housing will stabilize housing costs and keep more people in their home. And I think we can agree that that's what we want as a community.
It's great. Relatedly, we talk about where the jobs are and where people are living. Increasingly, you talked about the office to residential conversions downtown, which are happening at a pretty good clip. I mean, some of the properties down here are incredible. There's also more housing coming and needs to be even more housing coming in Uptown, our other big jobs hub. And I know that you have been partnered with the port and are doing a number of things related to job growth and economic growth and even innovation up in the innovation corridor. Can you just talk about what you see coming ahead in Uptown?
Yeah, look, Uptown we're fond of Uptown because it is so close to the urban core and it is the other kind of highly dense jobs area. I'm excited for Laura in the port to be leading Uptown now. I'm excited about my conversations with the Uptown partners. You see Children's Hospital. These are just massive organizations and stakeholders that continue to pour not just resources, but pour manpower and subject matter expertise into Uptown and into our job creation and innovation outlook. I think Uptown is a perfect example of fertile ground where exponential and explosive growth can happen and should be happening because it is back to the partnership. It's a partnership, not just between those organizations in Uptown and the city, but also between those organizations, the city and the state with the incredible amount of grants that Jobs Ohio has provided our innovation district. And so there's no doubt that there's huge potential there. Part of the impetus of bus rapid transit is better connecting Uptown to the urban core. Not through a streetcar necessarily, but through bus rapid transit, which I brought up the word, but anyway, I'm very proud of our streetcar. By the way, we are setting
Working well. Yeah.
And the economic development along the streetcar has been extraordinary. But other than that tangent, so bus rapid transit connecting those two communities, I think, is really important for exactly what you're talking about, job growth.
Good.
The other thing about Uptown is that it's creating huge amounts of housing, particularly in the off-campus of UC. UC, I think, will be bigger than Ohio State here in very shortly, and so that growth of UC's campus, which really reflects the growth of the city, needs housing and needs support. And Uptown has been really, and UC in particular, has been on its front foot creating that housing.
Yeah, I appreciate how aggressive they have been on that. Just two more quick questions. One is there was an article this week about parking enforcement, and I'm not going to ask you about parking enforcement, but one of the lines in the article mentioned that it was a recommendation from the Futures Commission, which indeed it was. We have parking restrictions, and enforcing those restrictions is a way for the city to make sure it's following. It sounds like you have a full house there, so I hope you're having a good morning. Who do you got there?
Bodhi and Rami, they are ready to go to school.
Are you taking them to school? Do I need to wrap?
Yeah, if this could be the last question, that would be helpful.
I'll do it. Give me a sense of where we're going on the Futures Commission. I know that parking enforcement is not the only thing that you have been working on. I know that the recommendations are still important to you, but where are you headed with that?
Yeah, the Future Commission continues to be really a guiding, governing document for council and I. We really asked the business community, particularly back in January of 2022, with all of the uncertainty, climate change, remote work, oh, hey buddy, I'll be done in 5 minutes. Sorry guys, my wife is working early this morning at the hospital. Okay, so back to the question. So the Futures Commission is critically important still. We have accomplished a number of things, including increasing parking enforcement, which was, frankly, a revenue generating strategy from the Futures Commission. We've also been looking at our pipeline of development and what our relationship is with the port and CDF and READY and the chamber, and how can we better align our development pipeline and our incentives to where we want that development to be happening. Obviously, strong neighborhoods that have seen investment don't need as much focus from an economic development and investment perspective than communities like Sedamsville or North and South Fairmont, or even communities that are continuing to grow like College Hill and Walnut Hills, but need continued investment and support to get them there. And those are all, very, very clear recommendations from the Futures Commission. I think we've been talking a lot about how we can better align our resources to our priorities, which are making sure that waterworks and our pension are on a strategic path in order to be as strong and as effective as possible, which are big recommendations from the Futures Commission. But ultimately, I think what the Futures Commission made clear was a number of things. Number one, that we needed to sell the railroad in order to pay down the $400 million deficit on the capital side, which we are really, really strongly doing. Last year we got 55 million as opposed to 25. This year we're expecting another 55, if not more. And so that's an additional $110 million that we wouldn't have had without making the difficult decision of selling the railroad. The Futures Commission was very clear about making sure that we are being as efficient as possible. And that's why the city manager last year did a 3% cut across the board, which affected my own office because we've got to make sure that we're using our resources as efficiently as possible. And the Futures Commission report is a living document that we are continuing to kind of judge our success off of, and I hope that partnership continues. As you can hear the noise, the boys are fully awake now, so I've got to bounce, but I really appreciate the opportunity.
Mayor, thanks. Being mayor is about multitasking, handling many, many issues at one time. You do that quite well, including your two beautiful children. Thanks for being with us here today.
Of course. See you guys.
Bye.
Mayor Pureval, absolutely love the fact you're there with the little ones in the morning. I would love to know, the audience may want to know what you made them for breakfast. I'm just kidding, but I love the fact this tells me a lot about you as a person. You're there with your little ones in the morning. I think that's terrific. Thank you so much. We appreciate all you do, not just for the city, but as Brendan indicated, for the entire region, and we look forward to collaborating with you in the future. Thank you, Mayor Pureval. It's my pleasure to introduce Christy Samad, the Executive Vice President of 3CDC. Man, you're in for an exciting presentation. Christy manages the programming of 3CDC civic spaces and oversees all of the programming, staffing, and financial management that allow each of their civic spaces to thrive. Christy, welcome to the show and take it away.
Thanks for having me. After listening to Brendan and the mayor talk about, all of the excitement that is happening downtown, this kind of really just reinforces that. And so it's in line. And so excited to share with what we have going on the vibrancy side. The mayor touched base on what I'm about to talk about. But I wanted, before we dive into everything that's happening in quarter 4, to continue the excitement downtown, it's really on the tailwind of all of this development that's happening. And, with the convention center and with everything else going on, Cincinnati's got a lot. The urban core is incredibly active. And so just looking at this map really quick to highlight, as we have the convention center hotel, we have a new 2.5 acre plaza that will be right adjacent to the convention center that I'll show you some photos a little later on. There's a lot of excitement in that district. But if you look at the adjacent blocks to the convention center, as the mayor mentioned, we created this fountain district. And if you just look just on 5th Street, the different developments that have been happening over the years, we've got first in 2015, we did 8451, where we've got that office, all of those office users on top, and then that commercial space underneath. And with Mita's, Baru, Maplewood, just a ton of different street level activity, which, continues to connect to then that urban core or the center Fountain Square area. Then we have the Foundry, the old Macy's building, which was completed in 2022. And exciting news, we have our last commercial space that will be open in October. It was announced Prim, who the operators of Ghost Baby, will be taking that last spot. So again, just connecting another connection to Fountain Square. And then, as the mayor mentioned, with the old Saks building becoming the Paycor headquarters, we have Salzar opening this fall. We've got Flight Club, which is another entertainment center that is a dart throwing concept. Again, just filling in the gaps on 5th Street to connect our convention center to Fountain Square. If you go to the next slide, this just gives you more of those projects that I mentioned about. But going to the next slide, because of all of this, when we were looking around the convention center, we wanted to really, break down downtown when people are coming, tourists, and they're like, hey, I'm going to go to the central business district. And it's like, well, where is that, right? We've got Over the Rhine, we've got Finley Market, we've got the banks. Now we have the convention center, and we wanted to really dub this core district. And so calling it Fountain District, within this area, we've got about $80 million of business that's coming in every year. And the other thing that sets us apart from other cities is that when you look at the convention center in other cities, they have all of these, it's more chains, it's farther to get to. Really, when you now exit our convention center, you are literally at the doorstep of all of these amazing locally owned James Beard nominees, chefs. And so it's a thing that we should be celebrating. And so creating the Fountain District and leaning into that. And so if you go to the next slide, talking about the convention center, putting, $850 million into that district, with the center opening in January, the first event being January 13th, which is so exciting and so close to being here. I know that everyone is pretty excited about that. Looking just outside the door of that, we'll have this new plaza. If you go to the next slide, you'll see this 2.5 acre plaza. It'll have a pavilion bar very similar to Washington Park, where it'll be operating 7 days a week. We'll have, light programming that complements things that are happening in the convention center, but working very, very closely with the city, the operator of the convention center, Visit Cincy, to make sure that all of the clients that are using that convention center want to use this as an amenity as well. And so I just feel like for so long, right, our urban core is, dense, has a lot of concrete buildings. So having this 2.5 acre space that I think we're putting about 250 plus trees in this area. So it's going to feel great. It'll be for the residents around there. They'll have a dog park, and we'll program it accordingly, which is a really exciting opportunity. If you go to the next slides, you'll see some visuals of what that looks like. And so you'll see that come to life in the spring. If you go to the next slide, let's talk about the winter. What's happening now, which is in a short 2 months. Our team is actively working on how do we continue to build this momentum, bring people back, look at the vibrancy and just, giving locals reasons to come down, but then also continuing that tourism. So if you go to the next slide, that plaza will be actually opening before the convention center, and the ice rink will be moved from Fountain Square to Elm Street Plaza. And that is opening November 21st, which is, again, a short 2 months away. But why the move? We have, for such a long time, Fountain Square is only, a smaller 2 acres. We're kind of landlocked. We try to, continue to improve the customer experience. But we were unable to do so because, we only had so much space to work with. And so using this opportunity as we're redeveloping Elm Street Plaza, how do we fit the ice rink in and make it more conducive to the customer experience? So if you go to the next slide, you'll see some images. We're bringing back the warming tent, which is the tent on the left. We'll have a large admission building like we've done in the past, but then adding more areas that you could either rent, just come down, the pergolas with fire pits, we'll have little igloos, and then just the makeup of the rink itself. It's about 2,000 square feet bigger than Fountain Square. And it will just have a different feel. It'll be, in this epicenter of, this revitalization of the convention center. We've got the Tristan Eaton mural on the east side that will just, again, bring new life to this space. Some more imagery if you go to the next slide and the next slide. And the next slide, I believe. Yes. A lot of pretty imagery, and we are not, as we bring on the convention center, as we created the Fountain District, we're looking at this as, we didn't move the ice rink from Fountain Square to Elm Street Plaza. We're really expanding our winter destination, right? I mean, we just are now looking at what else can we bring to this area. And so if you go to the next slide and the next slide, we want to really pay attention to this then 5th Street corridor. Like I mentioned with all the development that's happening there, how do we connect it? We want to make sure that, again, it is one event space. It's a short 1.5 blocks. So it's not far. You can still park at Fountain Square if you want and come over. But we also have the parking garage at 8451, which is right next door to the plaza, which is going to be incredibly convenient. But if you just look at this map, it will show you how short of a destination it is. And so again, with what I mentioned, all of the different commercial storefronts that will be open and activated, how do you continue that momentum and excitement on that street? So if you go to the next slide, you'll see for the winter specifically, we're looking at, adding extra lighting, that excitement. If you go to the next slide, we're looking at different kind of lighting treatments with Tivoli, lighting in the block on 5th between Race and Vine. And then we're working with the Crew Tower to bring back the Shiloh Elves right in that storefront as they're preparing on what to do with that space. So again, and don't be concerned, the scaffolding will be coming down. So the windows will be full of the Shiloh Elves, again, bringing back that history and excitement that we all love. of the history of Cincinnati. And then that brings you to Fountain Square. What's happening there? If we're getting rid of if the ice rink is moving to Elm Street Plaza, what's going to be at the square? The holiday tree that Duke is so graciously helping us with will stay at Fountain Square. We are working with the city very closely. Before the renovation in the 80s and 70s, they used to light up Fountain Square as it's winterized and there's actually no water. We're putting lights back into it. And so we're really excited about that project to debut that this season. And then we're bringing Winter House, the 65 by 65 installation that will be decked out. It will have operating hours. If you go to Fountain Square in the summer, from 11 to the evening, there's always people on the square that they're using it as their third space, right? They're taking their lunch break, they're taking a break, etc. And so we want to create that in the winter as well. We want to make sure that there's a space that people can hang out. There will be beverage operations. There will be just a cozy atmosphere. And so that will be there from November to February. This gives you a little more highlights of the Winter House, a little feel. We're working with Agar on what that looks like and feels. And so we are in the thick of designing it and excited to launch that in the second week of November. And then this gives you if you go to the next slide, it gives you some more visuals of the fountain and what that would look like, what it looked like in the history or in the past, and what we envision it to look like this year. So those are the big things that we have going on. It's a lot of excitement, and not to mention, so those are the large installations, but we will continue to work with, we've talked about the partnerships and how important those are. We are going to program on a daily basis all of these facilities. We want to make sure that it's giving more reasons for people to come downtown and then go patronize all of the other stakeholders downtown and creating that business.
Christy, that's impressive. And I loved that you referenced Ray Oldenburg. He wrote the book, The Third Place, because that's what the people's third place is. I love you reference that.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your passion and leadership. And we look forward to a great fourth quarter and a 2026 and onward with you guys and the 3CDC team. And I look forward to those future collaborations. Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure now to introduce my colleague, Jay Jansen, who serves as the Director of Brand Strategy at the Cincinnati Experience. The Cincinnati Experience is a resource that provides storytelling tools, pictures, imagery, narratives that help promote the region's unique qualities. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Thomas. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks everyone for joining this morning. I got a quick overview for you, if we can go to the next slide. Cincinnati Experience, for those of you who don't know, used to be Source Cincinnati, and we were founded in 2014 by Cincinnati member organizations whose mission it is to market the region to the world. And what we do is we do things like regional reputation building through storytelling. We host visiting journalists and influencers. We have our own media content and delivery of our own media, and we have a new regional unifying branding site that I'll tell you a little bit more about in a second. Next slide, please. Following the heels of the 2012 World Choir Games that were hosted here in Cincinnati, for those of you who might remember, our funding organization saw an opportunity to build the region's reputation through earned media. Since then, the number of stories we've been able to place and impressions around the world that we've earned has grown significantly, with a total of over 1,200 stories placed and almost 14 billion impressions. Next slide. As an earned media initiative, we focus on telling positive stories that define the Cincinnati region to national media outlets. For this to happen, branding needs to be the responsibility of all the organizations and companies and people in our region. More on that in a second. As you can see here, our earned media continues to promote our region. Well, we also jumped into social media, as you can see, and added our own website, cincinnatiexperience.com, over the years. And our social media sites promote the region and the Cincinnati Experience. And our Insta page, for instance, is one of the top pages for local and visiting audiences to use to learn and interact with our region. Next slide, please. We also lead the charge when we need to be reactive, like when we make it to the Super Bowl, or we promote events like the Cincinnati Music Festival, or Blink, as we mentioned earlier. We lead the charge for our region with those events, and not only promote these events, but share the Cincy story to a national audience holistically. Next slide. In July 2024, we launched our brand hub, brandcincy.com. A little over a year ago, and we already have 800 plus users and 350 different companies using this site and our assets. Everybody from staffing and recruitment firms to schools and universities, hotels, creative groups, local media, construction firms, hospitals, realtors, government entities, and our Fortune 500 companies all are using this site and the assets on that site. Next slide, please. So what is brandcincy.com? We are the digital branding asset library that delivers easily accessible tools and vibrant photos and videos, key messaging, marketing examples, and recruitment tools, all free for our region to start using right away. Next slide. Regional corporations, organizations, institutions are all using this digital branding asset library to sell our region in their own marketing, especially in recruiting and talent attraction efforts. They're using it, as we like to say, as a unifying voice for our region. Through our visual assets and through the tools that we have available, again, for free at brandcincy.com, you can sign up and use those tools right away. Next slide. So what's at the site? We're excited to continue to build this Brand Cincy site, the Brand Cincy Hub. There you'll find marketing materials, Speak Cincinnati tools, a visual toolbox with videos and photos, itineraries, maps, things to do, and also examples of our brand in use. Next slide. In our marketing materials, you'll find interactive maps. You'll find banners that you can print to use at your events. And we now have 2 targeted talent attraction guides that help your organization showcase the Cincinnati region to prospective talent. Our Young Professionals See Yourself in Cincinnati guide features testimonials from millennials and Gen Z transplants, and the guide highlights what young professionals and talent value most: the thriving food scene, vibrant neighborhoods, professional opportunities, and outdoor amenities. Our new international guide was designed specifically for international recruits and their families, and includes practical information and curated links to help newcomers connect to key resources, cultural communities, and services that make settling in our Cincinnati region easier for them. This is a great example of what we do. Once we launched the site, we got feedback directly from our users that this was a need. So as you use the site, feel free to contact me and we can talk about what will be helpful to your organization. Next slide, please. As I said, we have recruiting banners that you can download and print as needed. Next slide. We also have information to speak about Cincinnati in a way that will help you tell the region's story. And we engaged key stakeholders to help build these. So the information here is updated, and we have great pieces to help you sell the region at the snap of a finger. Next slide. Our visual toolbox continues to grow with photo assets and video assets. All of these are free for you to use to help white label. It's a white label service that you can just jump on, download, and use to promote the city and the region in the way that you need to. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. We also have an area that just shows you how folks are using our branding site so you can get ideas of where you can use it. Next slide, please. What are your ideas? We want to hear from you as you use brandcincy.com. Please feel free to contact me and let me know through our interactive part of our site so that we can use your ideas to continue to build this branding site the best we can. Today's Cincinnati Experience feeds a sense of local pride, and we want you to join in with us. Come to Cincinnati Experience, come to brandcincy.com, join us in these free assets. Thanks, everyone.
Jay, thank you so much. And if you're looking for Jay, he's on the first floor here at the chamber. And if you ever happen to be in there, please stop by. If you need to get a hold of Jay and you weren't able to get his email, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to get you connected, but it's simply jay@cincinnatiexperience.com. And it's truly a wonderful thing that he's put together. And Jay is so super helpful. Jay, thank you for all you do for the region, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time today. What a show. We're blessed with so many amazing leaders in the region. It blows my mind month after month just to hear the great things that are happening. And I want to remind you something Brendan said earlier. A copy of the monthly member briefing is curated on our website for further viewing. Give us a little bit of time today before we can get up. We'll have it up by tomorrow morning. But they're curated back. It goes back 3 years. So if you're looking for something or you maybe missed something, please use that resource. And if you need to get in touch with any of the speakers, I don't know that I can help you get in touch with Mayor Pureval, but please let me know. I'll be more than happy to make that introduction. Last bit of housekeeping, ask you to join us. Mark your calendars for October 9th for our next monthly member briefing. I was hoping to have the opportunity to announce who it will be, but you'll be seeing that shortly from us. Everybody, have a great month. We look forward to seeing you at Oktoberfest and enjoy this unbelievable Chamber of Commerce weather we're going to have this weekend. Thank you, everybody.